playing to their comfort. It did feel like Tempo Storm was a little bit closer to understanding the meta, but overall, it just seemed panic from both sides.
Well, both of these teams have players who have known each other and played against each other for a long time, so let's see what they have to say about this matchup.
I believe Tempo Storm is currently the strongest roster in NA. They've been together for a few tournaments now. They have a really strong structure, and I think being able to play against the Korean teams and the Chinese teams, having that global experience is what really pushes them to the top of America.
They probably have one of the most talented rosters that's left over, just from the fact that I think 3 of them were on the BlizzCon winning roster in 2015, so a huge group of talented individuals, and I don't know, they've been playing together for a long time, so they have a lot of synergy between each other, but with the addition of new people over time, it's kind of led to a little difference in playstyle, and they're not always in sync with each other.
Tempo's roster is probably the only roster in NA with all 5 players that I think they don't make silly mistakes in game. They always position to win, and there's no they don't throw.
That team might be my choice to finish the furthest below what is expected of them, because I think most people would expect them to be an easy top 3, and I would be very surprised if they got into the top 2 spots. I think it's more likely they'll be somewhere in the 3rd through 5th range, which would be, I know to them and to most of the fans, a very underachieving season. They definitely have the potential to prove me wrong, but I haven't seen the synergy and the hero pools come together for that team yet with their new roster.
I'm not afraid of Tempo Storm. I think that my team will beat them, and I look forward to that game.
Now, when I talked to King Caffeine, he specifically said that his concern with the matchup versus Tempo Storm is that Tempo has always been excelling at playing to the battleground, and that's not the strong suit of B-Step. B-Step would rather fight, but it seems to me in the past 2 series that we've seen from B-Step, they don't put themselves into positions where they can team fight very often.
Yeah, I very much agree. It seems like at least their thought process to what in their head versus what actually happens into the game are 2 very different things, at least from what they have told everybody so far. And I do look to hopefully see that adjustment here, because even on maps where it enforces heavy skirmishing like they pride themselves in, they seem to neglect it at all costs, really.
Yeah, they do, and that is something that will have to be adjusted. But Battlegrounds will play into that heavily, so let's take a look at the Battleground pool and see what our first map will be. This is the HGC Battleground pool. Tempo Storm banned Battlefield of Eternity. I am so happy they banned that Dread.
Yeah, they have been struggling on that, and we've already seen that B-Step themselves feels rather comfortable on the map, a unique approach running triple backline heavy poke, but either way, they have had quite a bit of success, and now we are moving to our first map, Tempo Storm selection. That's going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen.
All right, so Tempo on Tomb of the Spider Queen, that's been a pretty consistent pick for them too, going to Tomb. Not something that seems more to have developed recently, you know, in Gold Club at BlizzCon 2, because that wasn't something that they were picking a lot before. It was things like towers. So what adjustment do you think it is that Tempo Storm has liked specifically for Tomb?
I mean, to be honest, I think it's going to be the fact that they have practiced against so many European teams on the map. I think they've learned a lot from their international travels, being able to play those teams, and that was really where this map kind of came to its stride, is through the European scene and their approach to it. So I think that Tempo Storm feels like they have managed to pull some kind of advantage over the rest of North America, at least in Tomb of the Spider Queen. B-Step, though, is going to ban out the Artanis. Tempo Storm questioning if the Ragnaros or the Tassadar is the man they're more concerned with.
Yeah, they've banned Ragnaros before and Zarya, but I think in the instance of Zarya, Tassadar was already banned too. Looks like Ragnaros is more of the concern, which is understandable. Ragnaros has been in kind of a weird place depending on the team that is looking at him for North America. But here, if you're wanting to be able to push up against your opponent's structures, Ragnaros can completely stop that type of push.
Yeah, we'll see if B-Step already with their first pick, if they're going to make adjustments here. I would expect they move into the Tassadar would show heavy adjustments. Malfurion would be a little bit of an adjustment, and if they go any other direction, it's probably going to be sticking more towards their guns, maybe not adapting to this meta battle that we really see kind of unfolding here in this first series.
Yeah, Malfurion was their first pick, but the only time we've seen B-Step play on Tomb so far, they were going for the Malfurion Artanis combo, and they've already taken that off the board with no Artanis.
I'm surprised the amount of time that it's taken for this team to be able to pick this up. I think they expected a Tassadar ban on the side of Tempo Storm, but the fact that it was the Ragnaros now showing maybe not near as much confidence in this pick. They do lock it in, already showing B-Step, in fact, has done their homework, got a new approach to the game. They're going to be stepping it up here.
I expect Zarya here then for Tempo Storm, right? To make sure that they can still get a shielding too. Specifically because of the interview we had with Sam yesterday, where he said that this meta, it's hard for them to figure out, them being Tempo Storm. They just haven't quite been able to figure out exactly what the shielding is. They don't seem to like it very much, but understanding that one shielding hero has already been taken off the table, surely then they would want to get Zarya to make sure they have one of their own and can keep up with those sustain type fights.
I think a Malfurion is a must pick here on the side of Tempo Storm, at least according to their prioritization, where he's really fallen into the meta so far. And then I agree, it's either going to be that Zarya with the, the shields on shields kind of approach that Psalm was alluding to a little bit yesterday, or it's going to be kicking it old school of the standard here for Tempo so far. The ETC could come into play.
ETC was way less of a focus for Tempo yesterday than it was their first series. They were more liking Diablo, and I think they had a Johanna too. There's Zarya and Malfurion, so sticking to the exact same two picks they got yesterday on Tomb.
So now is B-Step going to go, they've already shown they're making the adjustments. This is where they bust out the Vala. Again, sitting to a little bit more of the norm when it comes to the meta so far here in North America. Possibly move into the ETC as well, a Diablo, some kind of warrior to make sure they don't fall a little bit too far behind in that category.
I wonder if they're thinking about Greymane here.
Greymane, I think definitely could be an option, but I don't think
this early.
Yeah, so if you do that, the back half of a Tyrael Greymane rotation is very, very powerful. I think, if anything, I would be comfortable with seeing like the Tyrael that high up, and then think, does the Greymane fit very later on? I have been surprised at the value we've put, in North America at least, has put on Greymane on specific maps. I think he's a great hero, and actually with the adjustments that we've seen with the armor coming into play, I really do think he has a spot. I just don't think it's very Flask-oriented unless it's going to be on maps like Infernal Shrines and things and such. So I do like the dive Tyrael approach still. It just, Tomb isn't the map I like to see it ran on.
This was a good double pick, though, for ETC Vala. First of all, B-Step gets ETC, which could have been, again, a priority for Tempo Storm, but also they sort of force out this ban, right? This Ariel ban, because teams are so scared to play versus the trifecta that is Tassadar, Vala, and Ariel.
Yeah, it's absolutely a terrifying trio. Even internationally has been, I don't know the exact win rate, but I know it's got to be near that 75 or maybe even higher range whenever you manage to have those three heroes together. So that is going to be the option here. Now B-Step maybe going to put some focus onto backliner, probably one with a little bit of concentration into wave clear, possibly even a Gul'dan ban could be an option here on Tomb.
Yeah, especially with Malfurion.
Zarya Malf, it's a really good idea. We'll see if they go that direction, though.
They could also, if they don't want Diablo, make Tempo go into something more passive like Johanna, because they probably know if they ban out Diablo here, Tempo's either going to go into Tyrael and then do Tyrael Greymane, Tyrael something, or they'll go Johanna, and that might be a little bit easier for B-Step to deal with. There's a lot of options, though. I do like Gul'dan just as much.
I would be way more concerned about wave clear when you have the Tasvala or the solo lane, making sure you remove a solo laner. They do with Gul'dan. I agree with that. I think they already have a reasonable amount of wave clear. Getting rid of that, making sure it doesn't get out of control in Tempo Storm's hand is going to be the best choice. And with already the Zarya Malf, I love that choice coming out from B-Step. But it's not like I've limited too many options here. Tempo Storm still can move down a couple of routes here into their picks. The question is, really, which one do they want, I guess? The Warrior, obviously, they're going to want to pick one of those up. Is it going to be a Tyrael? Is it going to be more of like a Dahaka for the solo?
I was wondering if it was Tychus. Tempo was kind of anomaly for me too, because while they went into a 180 of some of their draft choices, like Diablo and Johanna over ETC between the 2 weeks, at the same time they fell back into comfort picks quite heavily with things like Leeming and Falstad. So be on the lookout for any of those to come into play for drafting too throughout this series. Thrall and Tychus, So waiting until the very end to flex, figure out which warrior will be best versus whatever else B-Step wants to pick.
Now B-Step has to be considering their solo laner now that they know the matchup is going to be into a Thrall, and then they need to make sure that they have synergy within the rest of their composition. They're wave clear, so again, that Tyrael Grey main rotation is something they could pull out here. Tyrael isn't struggled too much into the Thrall matchup, but it doesn't sell me on their comp, right? I would like to see them have obviously lacking the support here, a major support, but then also just a dominant solo laner, not that casually winning the lane. I want to see something very aggressive that can kind of skirmish over with the Thrall. And what is it?
Every time B-Step is on Tomb, I look at Rexar because it's iDream.
Yeah, that is true. It's
Maybe that. I think it'll probably be Dehaka, though.
Yeah, I think Dehaka or the Leoric is a reasonable choice with the Tassadar, having the double warrior. It's not a dream scenario, but it is one. It's going to be the Rhaegar, and what is your solo? Leo. Love
so
it.
Who's going to play which warrior? It should
be
still
Calf will be on Leoric 100% of the time.
So?
I think there is no reason to have a player so skilled on that hero specifically with his next, like one of his most known to be weak on is ETC.
But who else on that team is strong on ETC?
It is a bit of a struggle. I agree. I just would like to see Caffeine onto that. I'm not saying maybe so much so from a factual standpoint, but at least from a viewer.
From the heart.
And yeah, from the heart. I feel King Caffeine on that Leoric. Now the last pick here for Tempo Storm, what is it going to be?
I think it's going to be Johanna.
Diablo.
Oh, Diablo.
Yeah, it's got to be some warrior for the 4-man. That's a tough question. I like the Diablo later back half of the game post the laning phase, but I'm not that convinced on it.
I just haven't been convinced from Tychus comps where so much relies on Tychus to do damage so far.
A main problem there is the fact that so Diablo's stunned outside of using his Apocalypse, which is a colossal cooldown. Granted, it's very impactful, it's so long. Tychus needs some kind of setup to be able to ensure he applies enough pressure to the front line, and the only other thing to do that is Shadow Charge into a wall. Very unlikely to be able to get that follow-up. It's not like Zarya prepares that either. I can't help but feel like if B-Step has really done the research. They've obviously made adjustments, and they've looked at how Tempo Storm plays this map, which is always concentrating team fights within chokeholds, looking for the isolation. Tychus gets the free pick onto his target, and then you lose the fight. If they fight in open territory, they avoid that at all costs. I expect this to be a closer game than I would have said at least before the draft.
But Tempo Storm has a lot of ways of dealing with any sort of entomb engagements. So what does that leave B-Step to look for to be able to start fights? Basically just mosh pit, right? If ETC can get the right power slide mosh. I
mean, if they go in with the Leoric to start the team fight and things aren't going to be looking pretty because the defensive tool is available, it's still okay as long as you go 1-for-1. Second, a Leoric for a Diablo is a winning trade most of the time, except for the Souls in that weird, scenario. But most of the time, that's still a pretty decent trade because Entomb is much shorter cooldown than Apocalypse.
I think they may just use Expulsion Zone too, like we saw, who was it, Team 8 do versus when B-Step went with Entomb 2. So they at least have a way of pushing everybody else back, so maybe buy some time until Entomb goes down. Tempo Storm, though, they have pretty good wave clear now, though. They've got Malfurion. Probably he'll go into Moonburn, especially because it is looking at Tychus and Zarya.
I've seen weird things. We've had scouting drones on the random.
We have them.
It seems like Malf level 1s right now are very just kind of scattered. So I would expect the Moonburn, though. I think it is probably the better choice.
All right, well, guys, we are ready for game number 1 between Tempo Storm and B-Step on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Alrighty then, here we go. Tempo Storm versus B-Step on the blue side, in fact, is going to be Tempo Storm, the team that is the most dominant here in North America for some time, where June is going to be on the Malfurion. Diablo is going to be played by Fury. Cawthon Luck on the Tychus. He's got to be on point this game if they're going to be successful. Psalm is always on the melee, that Thrall, and Cattle on the classic Zarya.
Seems to be a Cattle fave.
Ritual.
There is the ritual for B-Step in the red. APM will be playing Rhaegar. King Caffeine is on ETC. K1 Pro playing another classic of Vala. iDream will be the one playing Leoric this game. And finally, McIntyre playing Tassadar.
All right, so the battle is on here. I'm already going to be questioning what heroic choice we're going to see on the side of Vala. That's something that I think I like to see the strafe, but when often you see the Entomb, you see the idea of moving into the Reign of Vengeance. And I just think that Strafe's damage output is usually, as long as it's timed well with a big Entomb, can be very, very impactful to a backline trying to move in. So we'll see if they go that route or more the tank killer. It is a pretty I guess, viable option in both directions.
When we talk about Tempo Storm, one of the keys of the game that I do want to highlight this time is how much the synergy needs to improve between these players, especially when it comes to their heroic abilities. They had Void Prison Apocalypse that, frankly, the whole game could not be executed correctly.
Yes.
So we have to see things work out a lot better with heroic abilities because they still want to run those types of styles. They know they're strong.
To be fair, they have picked some of the easiest to synergize heroics in the entire game, and that is going to be the Earthquake into Apocalypse into Twilight Dream. That is, I mean, the only way that can get harder to run is if you just don't understand the ranges. That's about the only thing you have to be considering, and that's really going to be for Thrall and Malfurion alone. So that part of the weakness that we saw out of Tempo Storm, I guess, is going to be, you know, drawn back a little bit more. But I agree with you. When looking at the entire series, this has to be something that both sides have to really be considering.
Both teams starting to pick up their gems and looking for rotations around 2. Whoever can get control of the turn-in points likely will be able to get the first Web Weaver phase of the game. And so far, BStep the ones trying to control that with mid-bot rotation and keeping Volatas up top. So sort of a 2-1-2.
Yeah, this has become surprisingly standard here so far in North America, at least from what we've seen here on Tomb of the Spider Queen, running these off-rotational kind of plays, which I'm very surprised to see that coming out from them, especially when typically you only run a 2-1-2 when you have overly dominant laners into a relatively weak laning opponent or a kill potential focused opponent, which neither really seems to exist here for Tempo Storm. But either way, it seems to be the norm, which I don't know if I love or I dislike. I'm still a little bit torn.
In this case, it's starting to work out for BStep, at least in the bottom lane. The top lane has taken some damage. It's about halfway on ammo on the towers, but having Tassadar Vala, at least those 2 heroes who can clear out top lane pretty quickly, does help make sure that it doesn't drain those towers too much of ammo, while the bottom lane can be the point of siege for BStep.
Yeah, a lot of it just comes down to consideration of the wave clear, much like during like old school Toronto metas, you have to consider who has the better kill potential. Snapple fact is, if you had the Toronto, it was you.
Yes.
But now, now things are a lot different. You have to be considering the wave clear, less onto the kill potential. I felt like BStep does have a dominant enough laning phase that they could have made other decisions there. Saw him though getting caught out. Drain is onto him. iDream on that Leoric, which by the way we didn't touch upon. It is going to be iDream on it instead of King Caffeine.
Yes.
Sad day. In my heart a little bit here.
I'm sorry, my friend.
Yeah, no Butcher and Tombs yet.
I'm looking at some of the talents, and really the only thing that sticks out to me is Give Me 20, but it makes sense that it is a global-oriented Battleground Fury in trouble. Caught out with power slide by King Caffeine, body blocks from team. First blood for BStep.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought BStep actually struggled really hard with what seemed a very basic body block there. APM may be moving a little bit out of the way, but Diablo's model is just so colossal, it did not matter. Now Kato is going to be the one who is caught out here into the mid lane. Very uncharacteristic of BStep and Tempo Storm. BStep lost early game every single game they managed to play so far here in HGC North America, and somehow against Tempo Storm, they sit with 2 kills up. They're applying the pressure with 32 gems in. Gilly, BStep obviously has made some major adjustments. Draft, play, everything since what we saw in week 1.
Yeah, we have to remember who is on BStep. We have 3 ex-world champions from the members of Cloud9. They are ones who have a deep understanding of this game, although K1 Pro understands that he may have dove a little too far there, but still, they know, and they had a week to work on the initial problems. So it's good to see that teams not only are doing that, but have the capability of to do that because of how the HGC structure is set up.
Yeah, very much agree with you here. And so we're going to see if Tempo Storm really sticks to what they've been doing. So basically here on Tomb of the Spider Queen, concentration of fights into the chokeholds. Again, their composition is going to very much thrive on fights around turn-ins, but in lanes, not as pretty necessarily as it could have been. So we'll see where they go in that direction, but both teams threatening to try and get the channel, goaltending happening everywhere. But really the only one to turn in the gems is going to be 32 there for BStep.
Dread, is June the new Iacona?
Yes, when considering the talent decision making, very much so.
He was doing that all day yesterday too. He did get Moonburn, so he's helping his team keep up with BStep's wave clear. But yeah, going back to Zarya's choice of Give Me 20, being able to reduce the cooldown later on of Shield Ally, and then she can go into Gain Train later on, so just constant shielding for the team means that BStep is going to have to be able to put out a lot of damage to keep up with Tempo Storm shielding in the late game.
Yeah, it's something to consider. There's going to be a flip on the Cap. The Cattle is going to get power slid. He ends up using the shield, homing out from June. Psalm there to skirmishes. We got a full 5-on-5, but APM is a little bit too weak. He's going to have to hop his way out of here. And that's going to give a small temporary advantage for Tempo Storm to maybe, threaten one of the turn-ins on one side, knowing APM so low. But the wave clear here for B-Step is really, forcing the movements and restricting the positioning there of Tempo Storm so far.
Yeah, it's tough for Tempo Storm to get into the turn-in points, and at this point, they're just trying to check turn-in points to make sure that B-Step aren't going to get the first turn-in, but with Tempo Storm not having any in the bank so far, it's going to be very difficult for them to pick up the first one now. I think the general hope is just that they can keep going. Maybe if they get the right amount of kills, then they can get a turn-in, but otherwise, just stop B-Step from getting the rest that are needed.
Yeah, 70 gems in their hands, and then 60 on the opposite side. 36 of those are on Psalm, though, who is looking like his orc brother in there is going to be able to fight him right to death. That is the case. The goaltending here off the gems is going to be 3 members. Kato risks going in. Power Slide is not up cooldown yet. It might have been. Either way, he was going to be patient. And right now, B-Step has a 10 is going to be picked up soon. They're going to get the Web Weavers pressuring here with this turn-in on the side of Calf. And things are looking very different here for B-Step.
Tempo Storm has constantly lost gems, and it's only 7 minutes into the game. That was half of their gems they just lost. They have a tendency to lose their solo laner, and knowing that, they need to be a little bit more caught up with the rotations of the rest of B-Step. Entomb goes down, Cattle trying to get back behind the gate, follow-up Rain of Vengeance and a shot will secure the kill.
Yeah, but it did cost both a Rain of Vengeance there to be able to ensure that kill. A little bit of lack of damage there with Tassadar not being able to join, but great job from iDream knowing that 10 was not picked up yet. Cattle with a bit too greedy of a rotation. He's going to entomb and send you right to the grave there. Now, Web Weavers in all 3 lanes here for B-Step. Mid is going to be falling relatively quickly when it comes to the fort. Top front wall is going down, bottom front wall. Everything seems to be crumbling so far here for Tempo Storm.
B-Step with a full level lead over Tempo Storm. Psalm doing what he can to clear out the bottom Web Weaver. With the rotations coming in from B-Step, they want to be able to claim another fort, and with still just trying to stop the mid Web Weaver after its destruction, it looks like B-Step will be able to take out a second fort off of just one Web Weaver phase. That is a lot. You get a lot for their money.
Yeah, they have gotten an absurd amount, and a lot of that comes down to the wave clear that they drafted there. Having the Leoric to be able to win the matchup and already going with the Tazvala decision-making, that has crippled a lot of the choices. I mean, don't get me wrong, getting some of those picks kind of helped out a little bit too.
Just a little bit.
It helped for the turn-in, but the structures themselves all really came down to the wave clear decision-making. Now, though, 10 has been picked up. Tempo Storm is going to try and fight. This is where they want to fight. It's always around the turn-in. 100% of the time, Tempo Storm's composition will pick to do that. When Rhaegar shows on bottom, they will probably all in. There's going to be the root combo. Rain of Vengeance comes out. Fury goes in as well. Fury a bit out of position, but with the APM not there, they're not going to be wanting to take this fight quite yet.
No APOC, no Earthquake just yet. Tempo really making sure that they have the right positioning for this fight. Cattle can always try to go for Expulsion Zone to zone someone away. That's worked for Tempo Storm before on this battleground if B-Step gets into a choke position.
That's legitimately the main approach to this map it seems like Tempo Storm has, is how do we fight into the chokehold, how can we isolate, how can we confirm the kill, and they've built a beautiful composition once again to be able to make that happen, though things haven't worked out so far into this game. But iDream's under a bit of pressure, Drain Hope, he's going to go Entomb onto Psalm as Cap is getting zoned in the top half of this ghillie.
This might be it.
Yeah, they're just kind of dancing a little bit, feeling the water.
The problem is that Tempo Storm don't have 13, but they're still hanging in. They don't want to allow a second turn in a row. It's surely going to be time to drop APOC. Otherwise, they're just going to lose Diablo. There goes Earthquake or Apocalypse to follow. Nearly iDream goes down. Finally, he gets taken out with a nice Twilight Dream in the back. Yeah, but everybody's health pool is very, very high here. K1 Pro is not done. He vaults in. Good Feral Spirit will be able to get the peel there. And I can't help but note that if everybody had moved in with the Leoric into that team fight, B-Step would have been in a far better position. Yes, they did sacrifice the Leoric in quite a few gems, but it wasn't like Tempo Storm was able to take that fight any farther. They're just positioned themselves so far back that they weren't able to, pursue and confirm some of those kills. Either way, though, this does net B-Step a secondary turn in here. 13 tier advantage still into their favor. All 3 lanes are relatively well prepped considering the stage of the game here on this Web Weaver phase. This is just a different B-Step here. It is, and it's great to see. It's an impressive change up from going down in their first 2 matches. But it's just game number 1, and it's a long way from over. Let's see how much B-Step gets done. Ideally, it'd be great if they could take out the top fort, get that lane nice and push so that later on, once they can get a boss, then they can threaten the keep. And that is where the rest of the team wants to head to. Tempo Storm needs to be careful. There's not a lot of ways to stop a mosh pit if King Caffeine finds people grouped up. And we already know how good King Caffeine is at getting big mosh pits.
Yeah, he can hit a couple of people relatively often, and then sometimes even a 5-man. That's the first 5-man I've ever managed to see in my entire life, and that was all thanks to King Caffeine there on the ETC.
iDream helped too.
Yeah, he gave him this double swap into the prep. It was pretty all around. Either way though, B-Step now is threatening the middle keep front wall. 15 will be picked up, but Tempo Storm's going to be able to get that 13 talent tier here. That will give them a small window where they're going to be able to capitalize on the fact that they have enough gems for another turn-in. And they'll be on the same talent tier over B-Step. The question is, does B-Step give them the chokehold-oriented fight that they want at the turn-in, or do they fight them here in the lanes?
Entomb looking at Fury. Force wall zones off. So I'm starting to run in. They've got everyone down, but King Caffeine dodges Feral Spirit. We'll keep him up with the rest of the team. Nice shielding from McIntyre, pre-shielding, keeping everyone from B-Step ready should the fight break out.
Yeah, it's such a convenient position to be in, too, if you are B-Step. Obviously, with your structure advantage and everything, but more than anything, you just completed your secondary turn-in, and you still are almost threatening another with that 16 tier. It's going to be so close there, but that's going to be a good knockback from Cap.
Yeah.
And it looks like B-Step's going to aggress now. Fury is relatively low here, Gilly.
There's Entomb on Fury 2. Rain of Vengeance to follow up, but Expulsion Zone keeps everyone else away. Fury dives into the backline using APOC, and it looks like K1 Pro is the target for Tempo Storm. However, they have already lost Fury, and B-Step stays healthy.
Yeah, and now it looks like B-Step is going to be able to return a turn-in here relatively soon. Granted, those souls removed from Diablo does allow him to be able to come back alive here, but with the talent tier so close, it really doesn't, gain them anything. If anything, it just hurts Fury in the fact that he has lost a lot of his HP, the bonus stats you get out of having those souls. So B-Step's just going to back out, delay as long as possible, and then look to try and force the fight. I don't think... Oh, man, it looks like they're going to still try and take that fight. That's going to be a 2-man mosh pit there as Fury is going to dance to his death, and B-Step here is not done. The Expulsion Zone will be able to split. iDream's going in. He has Entomb.
There's no fort down here. iDream's still chasing out. He's going to catch Cothin.
Yeah.
They don't even need it.
Yeah, very well
force
done.
wall, or not force wall, power slide. And that's more gems. Oh my gosh. Tempo Storm has yet to get a turn-in, and look at the gems they have. They barely have enough for the first turn-in. They have lost so many.
Beyond all else. Like, Tempo Storm, obviously, there's been a couple of picks. B-Step is doing things very right. Their rotations, their wave clear they've drafted, but more than anything is, I've never noticed this until now, Tempo Storm, whole philosophy to this map is getting those fights and those chokes. And anytime they take those, and number one, if they don't work out, or number two, if they aren't able to pick a fight in those territories, suddenly their compositions do seem to be significantly weaker at all points here. And the fact that B-Step is even willing to risk into those chokes has been relatively impressive. It has worked out for them so far, but this game has now gotten out of control in B-Step's favor here, and they need a huge play on the side of Tempo Storm if they're going to make a comeback, and Cattle missing that Expulsion Zone is not a step in the right direction.
It's not a start, but there are still all the other heroic abilities needed. Earthquake has been dropped. Here comes APOC 2, but Fury's taking a bunch of damage before it goes back in with the charge on ETC, and that picks up the first kill that Tempo Storm desperately needs to get back into this game. That'll have to be the end of it for now, though, because Web Weavers are starting to look at the keep structures, and Tempo Storm, they need that 16.
Yeah, B-Step's idea there was essentially trying to keep Tempo Storm busy as long as possible, so there would be Web Weaver damage on bottom and top lanes to the keeps and the keep front walls, but you saw, ETC getting a little bit too overzealous there with the power slide, not having too much follow-up from the rest of his team. He ended up going down, so big mistake there on the side of B-Step, but not so much to be able to punish unless Tempo Storm managed to get 16, force a turn-in. And even then, they've lost so many gems so consistently that it's not like, it's going to totally turn the tides here into this game. But they do have an opportunity for a small period of time. Tempo Storm needs this turn-in.
They do, but even in that fight, they had to use all of those heroic abilities that are so crucial to their team fighting. So there's no APOC, there's no Twilight Dream. The Expulsion Zone was just now used, just trying to get Som to get the turn-in. The only thing that Tempo Storm have is Odin. So even though they're at 16, look at everything B-Step has. Everything except for Ancestral Healing, including Mosh Pit and Entomb, the two big ways for them to start fights.
And that's a lot of that. It comes down to just really the raw beauty. Obviously, Tassadar and what he provides, but more than anything is Leoric is a pretty successful initiator. You can sacrifice him in a lot of situations as well. He just provides so much of this map and these type of initiations that there's very rarely a moment where Tempo Storm has to get a clean wipe, and then they have to make sure that the Oryx is not coming back soon to be able to turn the tides once again into this game. He's such a phenomenal hero, and iDream is doing a very good job displaying the strength of him, at least so far here, for the North American HGC.
All right, well, we have a pause in the game so we can go through some of what has happened so far, because it's been a huge struggle for Tempo Storm, and now they're down to only keeps, but they haven't lost any of those yet. So they still have time. They just got all their heroics too. So are they looking for that big team fight that they need for a turn in first? Because I don't think they're going to get a turn in otherwise.
That is what they have to do. They have to get they have to have enough gems to be able to confirm and turn in. Beyond the same talent here, look to feign, the turn in, wait for the right moment, press R buttons at the right time, and at least get 3 picks is really what they need. Confirm the turn in, because they can't just get a turn in. If they do, that's going to be 2 to 3 forts unless major mistakes happen on the side of B-Step. They need to open up the map. One turn in is not a win condition, nor is a boss at this point in time. They need to stack multiples. So
yeah, they need those lanes pushed. We'll see if they can do it. We're heading back into game number 1 between B-Step and Tempo Storm. Tempo are looking to see if they can get that initiation they want. All heroics are ready for either side. Similarly, though, iDream has Entomb, but not liking the positioning. Again, B-Step has Tempo Storm figured out because, like you mentioned, this is something that they did on Tomb of the Spider Queen yesterday, so they understand that that was not a good positioning for them, especially just to fight over breeders.
Yeah, and now they're going to look to take the fight out in the open, exactly like B-Step wants. Coffin is going to get Entombed. That's going to be a huge APOC hitting 3 members there. King Get Phoenix under a lot of pressure. He ends up going down, and now it looks like Tempo Storm is going to be looking for more Earthquake, slowing them. There's going to be the Wraith Walk out, and with APM not there in the team, that's going to be a successful fight and the turn-in. Exactly what Tempo Storm needed to be successful here into this game. Turn it around.
It's a beautiful Twilight Dream from June 2, but the lanes are fairly okay. Mid's the best by far. Top is way far back, and then bottom has the Giants pushing there versus the Web Weavers. So Som's going to go clear that out. B-Step sees this. Once ETC comes back, they will have everybody. Maybe they could start a fight of their own with all their heroic abilities up. But for now, B-Step are just going to have to sit back for a little bit and then let Tempo Storm push with these Web Weavers.
That's the second time in a row APM has gone out of his way to clear the Giants on his own onto bottom. And this time it cost them. The first time it really hadn't been able to do that or really cripple their odds into a team fight. So I hope to see, a little bit more coordination, whether that be his decision or the team's overall. They need to realize they're not in a point to where they can risk, losing one person in a turn-in over just the Giants any longer. Either way, there still is a pretty significant advantage for B-Step, and I don't think they lost too many of their gems yet, so they're going to be able to get a response here. The race to 20 is on, as long as nothing too crazy happens in between that.
Man, I thought that Zarya would go Game Train at level 16, but instead getting Cleansing Shield. So removing disabling effects whenever she throws out the shield ally, and then by picking up Give Me 20 and having that completed now, it's reducing the cooldown of shield ally. So Zarya has a way to help get people out of something like a mosh pit. Similarly, so does Malfurion. Speaking of Malfurion, he got stunned out of Twilight Dream, so that'll be up in just a few more seconds, but will he survive until then? Ice Block in front as well as Expulsion Zone. Beautiful way for Tempo Storm to get through that Entomb. Silence hits ETC, and King Caffeine gets taken out.
And suddenly things are falling apart now here for B-Step as they end up losing ETC again. I can't help but think that iDream needs to be a little bit more willing to sacrifice himself for the good of the colony. He has the ability to res from the dead rather quickly, cutting off at 20 to 30 seconds at times, especially this late into the game, onto those death timers. And we'll see if they make that adjustment, but Tempo Storm has been successful here in these last 2 team fights, and suddenly the game is in a very good spot for them to be able to confirm a win here. We have 25 seconds for ETC to be able to spawn. Thrall is going bottom in order to prep that lane. 20 will be picked up relatively even for both the teams here. So Gilly, we've got a game on our hands, even though it didn't seem like it for the first 10 minutes.
We do. Tempo Storm has gained momentum finally, something they're famous for doing, starting out slow in a series and a tournament and then slowly gaining momentum as it goes on. Web Weaver's about to start. Thrall is coming up, making sure that the whole team is there together. No Earthquake for a little while. Same for Twilight Dream. But with 20 on both sides, this could be the game-winning push.
It very much could be. Webweaver and mid is pushed out so deep that will be threatening a keep, and the lack of transition on the side of B-Step shows that they're more concerned here towards the top lane, though bottom, or mid, excuse me, is not only healthier, but closer to being able to get the keep. Can't help feel like they should have committed that resource a smidge earlier. Either way, we do see APM and K1 Pro have made that transition. Probably going to move their way back here to try and defend onto the keep. And if this is a little bit too far of an overextension on the side of Temple Storm, B-Step's comp, this is what they like to do, you know, go a little bit aggressive, sacrifice Leo, make it hard to be able to walk away and turn the fight, but very patient play. Cattle just throwing grenades left and right there, being as annoying as he can be.
Keep your eyes on June, guys. He's got Bolt now, so he's looking for the perfect Bolt Twilight Dream to end the game for his team. Nobody getting close enough to get risking Entombed. Similarly, the mosh pit too, but now B-Step has a possibility where they could chase, but the longer that Tempo Storm keeps the members of B-Step in the top lane, the longer that nobody's clearing out bottom. Seeing Tassadar in bottom, we may see Tempo Storm move up more. They don't want to risk it.
Just going to be throwing out the grenades, getting the poke, the Entomb onto Cattle by himself, but no DPS is there. Tassadar still on the bottom, so a very ambitious engagement there for iDream. Not going to punish him or be able to get the kill here. But they do have enough gems here. B-Step at least has enough to be able to get a turn in. 7's turned in, 60 in their hands.
Nobody's even looked at Boss yet. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, that's
the throw pick.
Yeah, he's scary. Or she, I don't even know. It's probably is she the Spider Queen on this map?
No, it's the Rock Monster.
Oh.
Like a Galaxy Quest.
I didn't even know.
Look at it! Oh no, I guess this isn't. It's kind of a Anubis-y. Never mind. I got excited. The Rock Monster, I think, is the one on Sky Temple. Tempo Storm maybe forcing a fight here in the chokehold, but Cattle's the one who was caught out. Entomb back up right now. iDream could turn around and throw it out. Tempo Storm may want to fight a chokehold, but they also can't get caught by a giant mosh pit because that will end the game so quickly.
Oh yeah, any colossal mosh pit is enough to really be able to get the win in this game. I'm just trying to figure out what is the decision making here on the side of B-Step. What are they going to be able to make happen? Yeah, you can defend your own Knights, and it looks like there might be a bit of an attempt to invade on the side of Tempo Storm. They will be able to pick this up in time. The Entomb is going to zone them directly out. You shall not pass here is what I'm going to say as they walk away.
Entomb and Force Wall too.
Yeah.
Definitely not letting anybody steal these bruisers today. Even shielding them just to add insult to injury, make them last a little bit longer. All right, so that couple of minutes happened over bruisers.
In fact, time has passed us as they've been throwing grenades at one another, poking one another, and patiently deciding if they... Is this the fight we're taking? Oh, not this one? Okay, what about... is this it? Not yet. Either way, it's getting close. It's just really, you know, who's going to decide to be the one who steps up, and for now, it's going to be Fury with that charge into iDream. iDream not getting the CDR there onto the W.
Tempo Storm's the one with pressure on them because B-Step has enough for a turn-in, so they're the ones who have to kind of keep track of both of the turn-ins here. Keep eyes on all 5 members, but as long as Cattle keeps lobbing grenades every second.
I was going to say, you're right, in the sense that they don't have enough for the turn-in, but iDream's getting poked so low consistently, and everybody's health bars are low that I don't know if it matters, and there's going to be an attempt for the engage. iDream is almost already gonna, he will instantly get knocked down, and that was 28 gems, I believe.
That puts B-Step within, not within range now, being able to turn in. Fury used Lord of Terror just to absolutely make sure that he stays healthy going in, steals the health away from Leoric, and I think that was really cool. It's just really cool. He goes in, uses it, stays healthy so that he can dive in. They get a kill on Leoric, make sure that there's no turn-in now, and Tempo Storm can be a little bit easier. Now, B-Step are starting to gain all the gems they need once again for a turn-in, so Tempo Storm aren't out of the woods yet, but another one of those picks on someone who's holding a lot of gems, and they might even be able to look at something like a boss.
And Solemn will scout this, throw out the lightning, not gonna, oh, it barely hits Caplap second there. There's the Entomb right onto Fury. Apocalypse is available, but patience is what they're gonna show here as they just annihilate iDream there once more. He is gonna go back to that spooky ghost mode. And Tempo Storm looks like they're going to try and force this fight.
Fury was just like, okay. He just picks up Leoric and is like, okay, well, you're going to be in here with me if that's the case. We will both
entombing
be
who? Huh? Answer me that one.
If only he had lightning breath there.
Yeah, it would have been neat.
Leoric would have been his own easy bake oven.
The reverse Hot Pocket. The struggle would be so real.
No, that's just how a regular Hot Pocket works, trust me. Tempo Storm almost enough for a turn-in, ever so slowly. It really hit them hard, losing so many gems in the early game. Trying to have a turn-in that might help them take down a keep, but they don't want to look at boss either because they keep only getting kills on Leoric, and unless they can get somebody more pivotal who won't come back right there.
Instant Entomb again, without Vala there, the iDream just constantly initiating without the support maybe for his team. Granted, it is a short cooldown, but it is impactful as well, their iDream, maybe a little bit more patient. Either way, it didn't cost too much, minus 35 seconds that is not going to be available here, and everything is still up for Tempo Storm, and then iDream just getting grenaded to death.
The grenades are hilarious.
Not if you're iDream, I promise you that.
That's true. McIntyre wants to turn in. Fury says no. McIntyre's not going to die. He has 2 different dimensional shifts. And still, the hangout time around turn-in point continues, but only 5 more. Tempo Storm has it. It's just Psalm. If Psalm can turn in somewhere, he's going to sneak down to the bottom. Shh.
Ideally,
Don't tell
they...
me
Yeah.
so.
Oh. Hey, we did it! Turn-in is going to happen 25 minutes in, boys. Top lane is going to be prepped against Tempo Storm. Bottom lane is going to be prepped here. Actually, Saul making that transition to be able to defend off of it. So let us see what happens here. I can't help but feel like B-Step, that it haven't been... Oh, they're going to go for the Entomb. The whole team, again... K1 Pro isn't even there for the start of it. Again, it's just... iDream is entombing isolated targets, and it looks really cool, but then when you take a minute to look at how many blue health bars are near and how many red, for some reason the blue ones are always outnumbering the red ones, and I'm a caster, so I can't do mathematics, but I heard that that's not a smart call. I talked to a pro player, they told me that once. So for you at home, probably consider that. Things are not looking pretty now for B-Step, as the Web Weavers are going to be pressuring in.
And where B-Step aren't together, Cattle is always watching for Entomb. It's just like, okay, here we go, and nothing will happen. Just completely negates it every time, and its cooldown is even as such that he can use it for that. Now Tempo Storm with the slow siege. All the lanes finally up against the keeps of B-Step. It's time to take one of these down. It's time to look for the right kills to end the game. It's 26 minutes into the game, so they're going to start doing massive amounts of damage to the core.
Yeah, these things are starting to chunk. Top has been cleared, mid will be here, and bottom keep is looking like it is going to stand for now. APM the only one on the defense. And it goes down. So not enough peel there from the rest of the squad. And so that is going to be a 2-keep advantage here. B-Step's got to figure something out, and it looks like their answer for now is going to be starting this fight. We'll see if the Entomb's a bit more impactful than the last few.
Oh.
Twilight Dream interrupted.
Yeah, they got interrupted. Mosh Pit is still back, so all the members of Tempo Storm have to turn out. Cattle gets taken out. That's Zarya down. Apocalypse drops just a little bit too late to save him. There's Twilight Dream. It's a lot of members. It's ETC. It's a 1-for-1. This might be it. June has to ice block, but he body blocks a lot of it. B-Step into range of Coffin Lock, who takes down Rhaegar. So awesome. Malfurion does end up dropping. No,
K1
so does
Pro.
Tassadar. It's
Oh
one.
my.
It's only Coffin.
He's K1 Pro here is now on the pursuit. iDream is going to be looking to get that slow. Nuke's going to come down, but in the end, that is a 5-man wipe. Diablo managed to be able to get the resurrection. 47 gems now in the hands of B-Steps. Suddenly keeps down. Team fight's over, and out of nowhere, B-Step pulls ahead, but it is not looking pretty. 20 minutes in, and they don't even have enough for the counter turn in. They just have to back out. They've got to clear the waves, start it all over again because, you know, we're full European now. We dance around a lot. We play Tomb of the Spider Queen all the time, and we have 30-minute games.
Can you imagine Fury? He respawns just like, team?
He's like,
hello?
He's like, guys, what am I supposed to be doing? He's like, should I solo Knights? And he's like, but like, honestly, if I'm gone that long, will they think I'm soloing Knights? So I don't know. It's one of those positions where it's just awkward. Either way, the turn-in is now available. So iDream is going to be moving up here. Fury cannot take this 1v1. Spectral Leech is up.
No!
He misses the delay. He might cost him his life, actually.
Nope, Lord of Terror. I think he can take him out. I don't know. Cattle's there with the shields. This is going to be weird.
Cap does not have Bolt, so that won't be enough. The slow is going to be up. The W is hit. That's not going to be enough to confirm the kill, so very close as everybody's up. And now Caterpillar is going to proceed to just spam the Q button to the end of the earth. My goodness. It's just pew, pew, pew. I've never seen
I just keep hearing that sound over and over again.
I promise you, iDream's going to be dreaming tonight about that thing. He's going to be, I dream of a pew, a pew, a pew every time. And then Psalm, once again, minor interruption here, guys. Sorry about that. And thank you again for your patience as we are, what was the time on this now? We're sitting, it's near 30. We're kissing the 30 mark.
All right. Well, we've been having fun with this game. We
Yeah.
hope you guys have been too. Make sure you tweet using the hashtag HGC. Let us know what you think of these games, the matches, Cattle's grenades, iDreams, and Tombs. It's all fair game.
You know, pretty much at this point, anything. You can even my weird words, anything. Either way, we've got the game ready. We're ready to go. Let's get it started here. 28-29. Who knows? It's a crazy matchup. Let's do it. 29 minutes into the game, 24-24, 2 keeps down, B-step. Has to find an answer. Things haven't been pretty. The first 15 minutes, all in their favor. Everything else completely against them.
So we know with keeps down, Tempo Storm only needs a couple of picks to win, preferably on people who aren't Leoric, but even at this case, the respawn timers are going to be long.
Yes. Yeah, as long as it's on B-step side of the map. If it's on Tempo Storm, Tempo will be slowed so consistently that Leoric should be able to make it back. iDream with the B-step, I mean, gotta fulfill the name. That's not even BM, guys. That's honestly just having class and respecting your team.
Yeah, well, don't forget that those guys scheduled a scrim block, according to their manager, Zoya, just to make sure that they had their B-steps fully in sync. So we appreciate the dedication they have to their craft.
Yeah, it's a rare one we don't get to see too much of anymore. But for now, it does see the posture here. 2 members from both teams have backed out, looking towards capturing the night camp as we have officially hit our 30-minute mark.
Woohoo! We're here, guys! Bruisers on either side. Giants a potential. Boss a potential. What is it now that B-step needs? They just need this turn-in?
A fight
is that all
and
it
win
is?
it. It literally comes down to a fight. Like, they're going to get out pressured in the long run. Mid keep and bottom keep down over time. Tempo Storm's not willing to take a boss, so it's really just an even skirmish and a successful one. Again, not having the Tassadar there, iDream can't look to engage, but now Tassadar has made this transition, so I expect this to be the place where B-step moves up, but Psalm is going to try and delay iDream. That's 40 in. That's a big deal. No, the grenade. Never mind, hang the wrist there. That's going to be a good delay. Now iDream again getting the trade into Fury. Fury getting the better half with that pin into the wall. Using Wraith Walk out. I don't think this is going to be Entomb. It will be. Let's see the response here, Gilly.
Here goes the Entomb. We've got Rain of Vengeance behind it. Fury's getting fairly low. Apocalypse goes down. Psalm is on the other side, though, so it looks to be the first kill will be iDream instead of Fury. iDream slowing Fury down if he can, doing what he can for his team at this point because B-step are in dire straits. They can't lose anybody else.
Yeah, this is exactly what this composition is built to do, though. You sacrifice the Leoric, you take that trade, you take the cooldowns, nobody dies, Leo's the only one. Now you come back, and that's when you really turn it up to 11 with the ETC there. You know, look for the mosh pit. There's no cooldowns to really be able to get that interrupt. So that was very calculated initiation for the first time here on the side of B-step post 20 minutes, really. So we'll see if they manage to, you know, get that turn and force that here now that they do have 14 seconds left on Leoric and an absolute dominance when it comes to the heroics up.
Yeah, exactly. In this type of situation, earlier in the game, it always worked out better for B-step because Tempo Storm used so much just trying to get that Leoric kill. No Earthquake, no Apocalypse. At least Twilight Dream was not used, but B-step are just given the turn-in, knowing that Tempo Storm don't have those heroic abilities. They can move up with Leoric, and now they need to try to push the lanes out as much as they can.
And so these web weavers, they sting. Oh, Cattle's going to get caught out. iDream's there. Bala is not there, neither is APM, so that's going to be an iDream Wraith walking right out of there, going to try and avoid damage. Entomb is available still, but it looks like they're going to be using it bottom. Mid will eventually push out. 32-minute web weavers actually will make it this far into the lane, relatively healthy, and do way too much damage. So top lane and babying, that is the best choice here for B-step for now. The question is, again, is when they get into team fights, only sacrificing the Leoric. Oh, we might see a Wraith walk through that choke. Oh, but this pin is huge. Cap cannot go down, and that is a lot of cooldown. He's going to be completely stuck, and he gets the mosh, but he is dead.
He is dead. Tassadar's in trouble. That's Prescience being used. Here comes Cawthon with his Odin Entomb, stopping as much as they can, but B-step's APM is going nowhere. He gets taken out too. Good charge into the wall from Fury. It's only McIntyre and iDream left.
iDream is hid in the corner. He's waiting for the web weaver to go, so they apply pressure. He's going to try and feign going to core faster. If McIntyre can delay, he should force wall. It's up there. He's instantly dead. There's no way this race is close. I'm pretty sure Tempo Storm absolutely bodies this as the keep is not going to be defended. They're going to be able to move up. Leoric is back at the core, but I don't think it's going to matter here as he is sadly, I mean, he should be using his ritual, right? That's what you do? You B-step at that point?
Oh, absolutely. 33-minute game, but in the end, Tempo Storm comes out on top, all with one good team fight, calculated team fight up in top. But man, that was very back and forth.
Yeah, it very much was. It seemed like BSEP originally they had a game plan, it was working out, then Tempo Storm's like, no, we got this, and then suddenly in a moment where BSEP was like, wait, what if we only sacrifice the Leoric? And then finally, when they managed to do that, they got the turn-in. ETC oversends a little bit too much. Leoric was looking for the cheeky play, but he wasn't in position to be able to get response, and that's all she wrote.
Well, we're going to go to commercial, guys. When we come back,